Welcome to Life in Full Expression with me, your host, Beth Wolfe. In this show, we will explore, elevate, expand, and learn how to live your best life. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to live your life in full expression or create an expansive vision for your future? Get ready to be energized to fully express yourself, discover your heart's clarity for dynamic direction in life decisions, and develop your unique capabilities so you are delivering your ever-increasing capacities into your world. Join me, Beth Wolfe, and unleash the limitless capabilities of your soul, experiencing amazement, collaboration, fun, and purpose. Life in Full Expression starts now. Hello, you amazing souls. Welcome to exploring, elevating, and expanding your life in full expression. I'm excited you're here today. I am in the Pacific Northwest, and I was just talking with our producer, Jacob, of it is so beautiful here. It is crisp, it is cold, it is beautiful. And I did a funny thing yesterday. I mowed my lawn yesterday. I love for it to look gorgeous. So I just love the Pacific Northwest. Welcome to all the seasons. And today in episode 23, we're going to look at aligning your mind with your well-being. You know, as we launch into 2023, and there is typically a tradition of resolutions and up-leveling your health, this is something that I feel has really served me to really look at every day and up-level every day. So we're going to dive into a little bit of, give you a 30,000-foot view of what we're going to talk about today, is what is filling your mind. So fill your mind with your vision statement, your goals, your intentions. It's really important that we stay nurturing them on a daily basis, just like we would nurture this body. If we don't nurture it with great hydration, movement, and great food, you're going to feel the consequences of it. And it's the same thing with our intentions that are going on if we want to really explore new things in life, elevate and expand, that we want to be nurturing it through a vision statement of intentions. And it's helpful for us to do that even multiple times a day. Doesn't take that much though. Really, even spending 2 to 5 minutes a day, just being in touch with it, really can begin to make a difference. And then, who are you being? There is such an emphasis at times of what are you doing today, or what do you do for a living? And I want to introduce to you something that my mentor introduced to me, asking the question of who are you being? And I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? Who am I being? And so see and feel yourself being the person who's already living that life in full expression that you're writing in your vision and that you're saying it, that is who you are being. You're using a very powerful mental faculty, which is called your imagination, so that it can help up-level your health and well-being. And then the other aspect that we're going to look at today is how can you make a difference for good? I've found that it is so much more exciting to breathe on this planet if we are collaborating with other people and making a difference for good. That we have come to this earth to be an asset, not a liability. And so a lot of times what I will teach in one of my college courses on personal wellness about spirituality is really about finding your purpose as being part of something bigger than yourself. And I just started reading an amazing book that my friend Diane shared with me. Thank you, Diane. It is called Living a Committed Life. I'll put it right up here. And I'll also put it up on the episode notes. It's by an amazing woman. Her name is Lynn Twist. She also wrote another book. But if you want to really ignite how to make a difference for good in the world, I highly recommend this book. It is phenomenal to take in. So here we are, Life in Full Expression. Quick review, if you are first joining me, that I come from 7 dimensions of life in full expression. And today I'm going to touch into the physical dimension, as well as the intellectual dimension and a little bit of our psychological dimension. So intellectual dimension, I wanted to give you guys just a brief review or a new introduction of what that is. It's the ability to think and learn from life experience, your openness to new ideas, your capacity to question and evaluate information. In, just a brief summary of that for you, that's your intellectual dimension. And then your physical dimension is really an optimal state of physical and mental and social well-being. We do need each other. We are here to collaborate and co-create some really cool things on this planet Earth. So just brief summary of where I'm coming from those two different dimensions. And so let's go into our first segment here about aligning your mind so that you and I are actually going to bring a well-beingness. And first of all, what actually is filling your mind day in and day out? One of the phrases that I first learned for myself was, Beth, is it safe for you to walk down the hallways of your own mind? Or are you kicking your own ass? And, about 7 years ago, I became aware of that. And yes, I was definitely kicking my own butt. And now it's more of a nurturing relationship that I have with myself and with my mind. So, I want to say this, you don't get to not have something in your mind. You only get to choose what is in it. And I'm going to tell you a little story, metaphoric story from the Bible about what Jesus helped dispel for a woman and what happened to her as she did not really replace those thoughts in her consciousness. And then leading us off on a quote by Emerson, he said, stand guard at the portal of your mind. We do. We want to be aware of what is coming into our thinking. And so reading your vision statement, your intention statement, and goals a couple times a day is really going to begin to fill your mind and shape your thinking in alignment with well-being. You basically create an attractive force for yourself. So let me go back to the story about Jesus. I've studied the Bible probably, oh gosh, anywhere from 20 to 30 years. And I feel like that was just the beginning. And in my mind, one of the great metaphysicians of all time was Jesus of Nazareth, along with other amazing religious leaders and prophets across the world through ancient times. But he understood how the universe works. In other words, he knew how it works in our minds. And he said, don't go looking here or there for the kingdom of good or the kingdom of possibility or the resource from which all things come. For the kingdom is within you. It's your mind, it's your heart, it's your soul, it's your body, it's all of it. Then he described the story about a woman who wanted to get rid of 2, maybe 3 demons that were in her house. And let me just pause here just for a moment, you guys. I forgot to put my computer on pause there. Come right back in. Now, I want you to allow yourself to see that demons not necessarily in a literal sense, okay? That we're looking at this symbolically and metaphorically. Well, low thought forms that demonize us make us frightened and make us scared. They make us miserable in some way. It could be an old resentment. It could be a feeling of not good enough. It could be a tiredness, maybe you didn't do well in a business. It didn't work out. And so you might now be insecure about it, or you're not quite sure of yourself. Everybody has something like this, and you tend to have your favorite ones that your mind just kind of gravitates to and thinks about that, oh, I failed at that. Oh, I couldn't do that. So she decided to cast them out of her house, out of her mind, out of her body. I'm going to get rid of these, she said. I don't need this. And so Jesus said she did. But because she didn't fill her house with something else, 7 came in to take their place, meaning the universe abhors a vacuum. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the number 7. It actually represents a completion. So if we look at that, 7 came in to take their place. There was like a complete, like almost a complete form of thought that came in and filled the very vacuum that she created. It's almost have a word picture like you cleaned out part of your house, but not all of it. But then it just came back in flowing super hard and filled all of it to the rim of that completion. So that's why that number 7 is there. The Hebrew language is very symbolic. So you don't get to not have something in your mind. I don't either. You only get to choose what you will put in your mind. And that's why your vision, your intentions, in terms of just your overall intention statements that you're making, being something that actually delights you, that it increases the aliveness in you, that is what I love to call life in full expression. So you're basically giving your mind and the cells of your body a perfect pattern, like a blueprint. And you will have a part of you that will wonder about it. Yep. And then you can cast that out and remind yourself that it is a metaphysical universe. So let's take an apple seed. Well tended, they're going to produce apples, right? And they are never going to produce something different. Acorns, well tended over time, will produce oak trees and then bear the fruit of themselves. So when you get a really good blueprint of a life you'd like to live in full expression, and you hold it in your mind and you energize it with emotion, which is very key, and that it is in harmony with the picture you are holding, and you cast out the thoughts that would be the weeds that would choke out its life, you are a very successful gardener. And it's up to you to plant the seed. It's up to us to plant it and nurture it day by day. You've been given the mind of God, the mind of universe to work with. And so I have, but it's up to us to remember to know how the universe works. That's something that I became aware of about 7 years ago. It's like we're using these laws in the universe, but we're not aware of them. And that I learned everything is created twice, first in mind and then in form. And it doesn't have any choice after it has put itself in operation. It cannot be, sometimes one thing and then sometimes another. It just simply doesn't work that way. You know this based on, if you think about the laws of electricity and the law of gravity, the fact that love is everywhere present and the universe is ever seeking good for all of us doesn't mean that if I jump off the roof of my house tonight, I'm going to hit the ground and I'm going to hit it hard because the law of gravity still exists. So it has to do with the law by which the material and the metaphysical realms work. And if you're listening to this station, this might be very, normal for you to know about. If you're new, then welcome to the metaphysical world. They're always working, and therefore choose carefully what you and I are actually thinking and feeling about. Again, sharing that quote by Emerson that for us to stand guard at the portal of our mind. So let's keep our vision with us and the desire to express fully and read it and feel it a minimum of twice a day. One of my recent uh, clients that I have in my coaching program, one of my VIP clients, I'm like, what would it feel like for us to really amp up our appreciation and gratitude? He just recently is, investing in properties and bought this property that kind of felt like it was beyond him, but he did it and turning it into an Airbnb. And there we were standing in his vision. And you guys, we've been writing and saying this for 3 years. Him and I would talk as if this Airbnb already existed. And it's about ready to go on the market here this summer in the Pacific Northwest for people and families to enjoy. And he did. He read his vision. We worked on it each and every week. and he would imagine as he went to bed at night, and he used these laws of the universe to really work. So what that does, it begins to create what's called a conscious polarity. It's like a sperm and an egg coming together, or it's like getting not only the signal from the station, sending from a radio or television station, and we're getting to get tuned into it. So one is like you are casting a line out, and the other is that you are reeling it in. So you have both the picture and the pitch of it and the feeling tone of it. And if you were living this life of full expression, how would you feel? Who would the person that's living this kind of life be like? That person that's living inside the life that you've got in your vision, it's you. But what is it that you like? That you're not worried about some of the things that the current you is worried about. So let me pull that apart a little bit. So imagine that you're living this life that you really love, and it's being fully expressed, and you're feeling the tone of it. That particular person would not have the worries or the concerns that this person that isn't experiencing it yet. That's what it's like to get into the feeling tone of that. And it may sound a little confusing, but it's really not. The more you put on the identity of the one who is living inside the life that you're imagining, that you know some things that you just haven't brought to your conscious awareness yet. That, and I say quote unquote, you is really a higher evolved version of the current you, and it's seeking life in full expression. And so that's why you have a vision that you want to continually, consistently download into you, that you want to feel on a daily basis, so that you're actually incarnating that and becoming the very vibration and the frequency of it, that you're tuning in to that station of life in full expression. And again, just it doesn't take that much time, 5-10 minutes a day. I've got my journal here. I even got a page earmarked if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, that there's a spot that I wrote in here in July that just really expresses my intentions. And I'll go back and read that in length, and then also journal down shortly. And it really keeps me in tune with my life in full expression, even though the evidence may not be all showing up yet, but I am basically becoming that attractive force. So each morning and each night, I really encourage you and invite you to nurture that life in full expression that you would like to do. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to share about a man and his partner, these Jerry and Diane, and that they created a center that had extraordinary difference in helping catastrophically ill children, and really helped their families through having their minds in alignment with their well-being. So stay tuned. I'll come back with that story. I'll be right back after this short message. Welcome back, you amazing souls, to Life in Full Expression. I'm your host, Beth Wolfe. Today, we're talking about aligning your mind with your well-beingness. And I promised after that short break that I would tell you a little bit about a story that I learned from my mentor, Mary Morrissey, about a couple, Jerry and Diane, and what they did. They created a center about 20, it was about 20 years of research, doesn't exist anymore. But let me tell you a little bit about this. And it was so much about having to do with the to be statements rather than what are you going to do today? Asking yourself and writing down, what is my to being today? What am I going to be? One of my being statements that I do on a regular basis is harmony. I love to be in harmony. Who doesn't love music? So if you think about music being out of harmony, it's not very fun to listen to. You usually will tune into something else, right? So that's one of my two B statements is being harmonious. Um, all right, let's get to the story. All right, here we are. I got it written out in script for you, so I give it to you really great. Here we go. Jerry and his partner Diane operated and opened a center of attitudinal healing. I had to practice that word, seriously. And like I said, it doesn't exist anymore, but they did a 20-year experiment. And Jerry was a psychiatrist who began to read A Course in Miracles, if you're familiar with that, in the late 70s, and also began to realize some ideas about metaphysics, learning, and about how things are created. Well, he decided to create the center for kids that needed healing, that actually were going through catastrophically illnesses, kids who even had terminal diagnosis. And they created this so that as the child went home with this terminal diagnosis and spend time learning how they could shape their thinking while they went through this very, very difficult time. And the center not only worked with the kids, they worked with the parents as well. And their definition of health, you ready? I even gave a different definition of health from the physical dimension. But in this context, they said that the definition of health is peace of mind. And they reshaped the idea of how a child could be healthy and their family could be healthy, even though that child's body was going through certain things. There was an amazing shift that happened with this kind of training for the child and the parent's mind. The studies proved that almost all kids, 98%, landed outside the statistics for longevity for their particular disease. And their immune systems were stronger, they were healthier, they lived longer, and they had a much higher quality of life while they were alive. So the Center for Attitudinal Healing was really an exploration into how we shape our thinking and its alignment with well-being. They allowed a whole new definition of what physical health looked like and felt like to them. And again, it was peace of mind. So we know the word disease has to have its genesis in thinking. We are out of ease in our thinking, and then we crystallize that into form, and it basically cellularizes inside our body or into the body of our affairs, even outside of our body, into the body of our finances, possibly, and it could go into the body of our emotions in some regard. But one of the things we know is a great healer and a great difference maker, and made the difference to turn the tide, if you will, is making a difference for good. So there's one of the key elements in this segment right here, is that making a difference for good. It's like a vitamin for your day that you practice making a difference for good consciously. And you know what, you guys? There is so many extraordinary people on this earth that are making a difference for good. I just want to say thank you to all of them. Job well done. Keep doing it, increasing it. I see that even I'll help one client and then I just see it spread like this beautiful web of goodness and increasing out to their partners, their family, their work. I have an amazing client that works in a very large company and has to do with a lot of accounting and numbers. And they experienced a big wobble in their company. And she just was telling her team, we've got this. We're going to make it through this. And she's been in coaching with me. She's been in physical training with another coach. She's got like an Olympic team around her. And she could not have spread this difference of good to her team if she hadn't already been filling herself up with a lot of good. So I just want to say, well done. Keep doing it. No matter the circumstances and conditions that you see in this world right now, keep making a difference with good because it really is changing our world. So you could call somebody up who you know might need a bit of encouragement. Be the encourager instead of waiting for things to get better for you. So, say right now, you're having a really bad day. It's not going well. Um, you might be lonely. You may not, you may got laid off from work. You may not have a job that you love, or you may not have the fitness that is expressing the way you want to, or you feel lonely and don't have the friends and the relationships that you would love. Maybe you don't have the time, money, and freedom that you would love. The thing is asking yourself, where could you make a difference for good? And act on that. Even though it may not be in your life, this can really make a shift. Believe it or not, you'll begin to change your own frequency and vibration. So seek to help things get better for others, and you will find things getting better for you. I actually grew up in a family that was basically a lot of self entrepreneurs. And my parents would help people, but they were never really part of the community that we lived in. And I have found as I have gotten involved with networking groups and community involvements where I live here in Washington, it feels so good to be a part of exploring, elevating, and expanding the community I live in. Even though maybe sometimes it's not going on in my own life in every area, it really does make a difference. It is a beautiful vitamin that I love to take every day. So you do this in the presence of reminding yourself about your vision in full expression. Your practice in your, you've got that statement that you're writing your intentions and your goals. You're closing your eyes. You're allowing yourself to emotionalize it and feel it as if it is already happening. I found that I wrote my statement a lot for many years. But it wasn't until I actually emotionalized it and allowed it to actually feel in my cells that things started showing up in my life. So sometimes I would say for me, in my experience, just writing a statement over and over again really didn't serve me very well until I actually emotionalized it. So then you want to put your attention on whatever it seems you have to do for the day, but you do not leave off your list of what revs you up. Okay. It's really important that you keep I love my number one core value is fun, but some kind of expressive fun in your life. What lights you up? I met with a recent client that is an electrician for a living, and he had kind of lost his fire for life. Beautiful family, two sons, great life, great business, but he's just like, kind of seems dull to me. So I asked him this question. I'm like, well, what revs you up? And he's like, I love speed. I'm like, well, what kind of speed do you like? And he was talking about motorcycles and fast cars. And I'm like, well, why aren't you doing that now? And he just kind of let that slip away because he wasn't nurturing that in his life. And so as he brought that back in his life, it fed him and then it ignited more in his own life. So ask yourself, what lights you up? What are you, what could you recognize is your great vitamin of the day in doing something good for others? So I want to remind us that one of the ways that we can align our mind with our health and well-being is the greatest vitamin in the world, and that's to make a difference for good in somebody else's life. So let's take a short break, and I will come back and I'm going to be sharing some stories on how people made a difference. Whether you are an owner of your own company, whether you are an employee, a supervisor, mid manager, I'm going to give some great stories of what it could do to put a vitamin in your day to really raise your vibration, help your own immune system, and make a difference in other people's lives. So take a short break. I'll be right back. Welcome back to this final segment of Life in Full Expression. I'm your host, Beth Wolfe. Today, we're talking about aligning your mind with your amazing health and well-being, and what does that look like? In this last segment, I want to share some really great stories about how you can make a difference for good. There's been some wobbles in this country, and even just recently, because this is being recorded in the last week, last Monday of January, and not so great things are happening in our country that are coming across the news. Yet there are still a lot of good difference makers. So we're going to put an emphasis on this today and send out some healing waves to the American people as well as the world. So I want to share with you a story about Johnny, the grocery store bagger, and a little bit more of people. So a business consultant writes that last fall, this person was asked to speak to 3,000 employees at a large supermarket chain in the Midwest. And it was really about building some customer loyalty and regenerating the spirit in the workplace. Kind of a cool goal, huh? Customer loyalty and regenerating the spirit in the workplace. Well, one of the ideas that was stressed was the importance of adding a personal signature to your work. So be thinking about this. Again, whether you're an owner or an employer or an employee, as if your work was an offering not only to others, but to the universe itself. While all the downsizing, re-engineering, overwhelming technology challenges, and stress in the workplace. Now, mind you, this story was written years ago, and here we are in 2023, and it kind of sounds a little familiar. Well, think of it this way. Essential for each of us to find a way we can really feel good about ourselves and our jobs, whatever your work is. One of the most powerful ways to do this is to do something in which you feel that your work is now an offering. So, shared an example of this, a United Airlines pilot who, after everything is under control in the cockpit, he goes to the computer and randomly selects several people aboard the flight and hand writes them a thank you note for their business. Pretty cool, huh? Here's another one. A graphic artist that would always enclose a piece of sugarless gum in everything he sends to his customers. And a Northwest Airlines baggage attendant decided that his personal signature would be to collect all the luggage tags that fall off customers' suitcases, which in the past have simply been tossed in the garbage. Well, in his free time, he sends them back with a note thanking them for flying Northwest. Here's another one. A senior manager with whom this person worked with decided that his signature, personal signature, would be to attach Kleenex to memos he knows his employees won't like very much. And after sharing several other examples of how people add their unique spirits to their jobs, it really was this consultant's challenge to these groups of 3,000 employees to get their own creative juices flowing and to come up with their own creative personal signature for their work as an offering. Now, one of the things that I love to do with my clients is I'll send them a personal little voice message, something that just downloaded to me that I think would really uplift them that day. I send it randomly. It's not like they even expect it to come. Or I'll send them some kind of gift certificate in the mail to just say thank you. Just a few days ago, a client came into for her coaching session, and she brought me this really cool, gorgeous flat rock that said thank you that was painted on it. It was really pretty. I put it right behind me back here. So I want to tell you, going back to Johnny and the grocery bagger that was there. So about 3 weeks after this consultant had spoken to the supermarket employees, his phone rang late one afternoon, and the person on the line told that person at the grocery store that his name was Johnny and that he was a bagger in one of the stores. He also told me that he was a person with Down syndrome. So I'm telling you this story from the consultant's perspective. Well, the consultant said, Barbara liked what you said, so I said I would do it too. So basically, Johnny's putting in his amazingness there. They set up a program using 3 columns, and each night he went home and asked his parents to help him learn how to use the computer. And so he created 3 columns, and in each column, he found these quotes that were inspirational for people. And he would set these up. He would get them all cut up each day and print it out. And the next day, as the bags, the customers come through and he's bagging their groceries, he would put a note of inspiration in the person's groceries, and he would sign, the back of it with his name. Well, a month later, the manager of the store called this consultant and he said, "You won't believe what happened today." And this is the store manager. He says, "I went out on the floor this morning. The line at Johnny's checkout was 3 times longer than any other line." Well, the grocery store manager went ballistic, yelling, "Get more lanes open, get more lanes open." But the customers said, "No, no, no. We want to be in Johnny's line. We want the thought of the day." And the manager said one woman approached him and said, "I only used to shop once a week, period. Now I come here every time I go by because I want the thought for the day." So imagine what that does for the bottom line of this grocery store. Remember, they wanted to not only increase people coming and relations with their community, but also they wanted to elevate just the spiritual relationship with their customers all over. Well, he ended by saying, "Do you know who has become the most important person in our store?" Now we're talking 3,000 employees in a grocery store. The most important person was Johnny, that was doing thoughts of the day and putting them in people's grocery bags as he filled them up. So 3 months later, he called again. "You and Johnny have transformed our store, period. Now, in the floral department, when they have a broken flower or an unused corsage, the florist will actually go out into the floor of the store and find an elderly woman or a little girl and pin it on them. One of the meat packers actually loves the cartoon Snoopy. So he bought 50,000 Snoopy stickers, and each time he packages a piece of meat, he puts a Snoopy sticker on it." We are having so much fun. I want to emphasize that making a difference for good is fun, because these people are finding what really lights them up, what's their signature that they could do where they're at with what they have. So health and well-being is really our goal, but it's not just being symptom free. Remember, it's also about peace of mind, but to use our practice to move more and more and more toward an experience of well-being. So what could you be, do, and have that would increase your experience of well-being? How could you get your mind in alignment with that, with your intention and your vision today? And one of those practices is choosing to be a difference maker. That in itself could be your to be statement that you write in your journal, your calendar, that I am a difference maker. and choosing to bring good wherever you go and whatever you see. So I want to bring us in for a landing and say that in your health and well-being, our goal here is not just to be barely on the right side of no symptoms or of disease, but to use this practice as a lever to help us harness the energy that we are directing anyway, but leave them in alignment for much more help. How could you be a difference maker in your life today? Much more well-being, and one of those is choosing, hey, what's your signature that you could put out there that would really uplift and you could be a person of increase? What if every human being, imagine 8 billion humans on this earth, choosing one thing every day that we could do to make a difference maker in this entire world? I know that we would feel it. I know we would. So I just invite all of us to be doing that, feeling that. What is your signature of being a difference maker on this earth? You're the only one with your fingerprints. You're the only one with your thumbprint. You really are extraordinary, even as if you feel like you are ordinary in the ocean of 8 billion people. Go ahead and make a difference in your community today. I really invite you to that. Thanks for watching and listening to Life in Full Expression. This has been an episode in the physical and the intellectual dimension. And I just invite you, make your signature today, make a difference. And I'll see you next week, Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Transformation Talk Radio. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Life in Full Expression with me, Beth Wolfe. Tune in each Monday at noon Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Be your most elevated self and pursue a path of fulfillment, clarity, expansion, fun, and living your best life. If you would like to discover the 7 dimensions of your life blueprint of expression, to fully express yourself, reveal your heart's clarity for dynamic direction, and activate your unique capability, visit BethWolfe.com. That's Beth, WOLFE.com.